we go. Just a quick video on changing out your thermostat and the advantages that I find. And it's actually quite easy, quite cheap to do it yourself. So in your car, you've got your temperature gauge there, and if you find that it's always running low, cold, especially on cool weather, your motor isn't operating at the correct temperature, and also your heater won't work. Means you burn more fuel, or your fuel is not being burnt, it's just going out the exhaust, and you're not getting the mileage that you should be getting. So just a quick look at your thermostat. I actually changed this one the other week before I'd done a bit of a trip. So this is where your thermostat is. What it does, it controls the coolant going through your motor. So on this one, this is actually a 1/2 inch. You can use a 13mm socket, but it's actually a bit big. 1/2 inch. Yep. So here we've got a 1/2 inch. I'll just show you quickly. It's pretty easy to do, and they're only I can't remember how much this one was. $3. Nothing really, not for the price of fuel. Yeah, I didn't bother draining any coolant out or anything. At this stage, I'll just undo this bit of coolant running down. I want to get through the weeds in the driveway anyway. The big thing is, obviously you don't want to be doing this if your car's hot. That's very good. That went down there, and so did that. Anyway, I can see the bolt, a little 1/2 inch bolt. There's my bolt, 1/2 inch. Anyway, I'll just use this socket here. The other one's actually flipped under the car a bit. So this is the actual thermostat. So when you buy a thermostat, then you need to, so this O-ring, which was actually listed on the computer when I bought it, as a gasket. So it's just like an O-ring with a split in it, and it just fits over this thermostat. So when the car is running cold, this thermostat stays closed, and it prevents the water from cooling down your motor until it reaches the proper operating temperature. Put this back on. Yeah, so there's it's only 2 bolts in it. Most cars that I've done have only had 2 bolts. I think I've done some machines that I had a crane. I think a big crane that actually had a little bit more. So this O-ring gasket that they call it, or they don't call it an O-ring, they just call it a gasket on the computer when you're buying it, and actually works very well. It just goes back in. That's the way it goes down like that, sits in there, then the bolts go back in there. So the big thing is when you're doing up all these bolts on these, everything's cast alloy, you don't want to over tighten them, and the way that gasket is fitting, it's actually better than the old type of gasket. just fits in there nicely, seals it up. You don't need overdo with these casts, otherwise you end up stripping out your thread, and then you've got to either change the piece out, go to the wreckers, and you end up paying through the nose for it. I'll put my socket on this time, and that's basically all there is to it. And when you go to Repco or some other automotive supplier, you can either just take your rego papers in, or depending on what car, or you give them your rego and they look it up on the computer, and bang, there you have it. They just give it, nip it up a bit. So main thing, it's sitting nicely, doesn't need to be overdone. And then I always check it later. After I've been for a run, I'll make sure there's no moisture or water dripping down. And another thing that I find that I reckon affects my fuel consumption is when I've got good oil, good clean oil, like, see, that's a nice region clean oil, it's not dirty and black. I think my motor runs smoother. The only trouble with this car is the oil filter is down here, and to get to the oil filter you've got to take the air cleaner off. And I'm sure when I first bought this car and I had it in for the services and that, and then I came to do it myself, I'm sure they'd look like the original filter in there. Anyway, just something to think about. Any questions on anything, give us a message. No worries. Thank you. See you guys.